All right. Let's go ahead and get started. Hello. Welcome back if you were here last time, and if this is your first time, welcome to What Even. I'm so glad that you're here on a Monday evening. It feels really chill and relaxed where I am, so I hope you can access something similar for yourself tonight. In case you don't know, What Even is a five-part series where I'm discussing some projects that I've completed over the past 4 or so years. I think of it as preparation for an upcoming performance called Congress, which is happening as part of the new Original Works Festival at REDCAT this year. I will be performing along with a host of collaborators on the second week of the festival, so November 14th, 15th, and 16th. You can buy tickets at the link that's down in the description box below. Both Congress and What Even are really asking, what does process mean to me? I think there's a typical artistic understanding of what process is that deals with materials, but I'm also interested in this deeper level of understanding how process happens within our bodies and also around us in the world. So I hope you stay tuned with me. I'm doing one of these talks every week for the next 3 weeks after this week. If you weren't here last week, you can see last week's installment here on my channel. In part, What Even is a fundraiser for Congress, and there are a few ways you can help out with this project. One, you can donate to me directly. I have Venmo, PayPal, and Cash App accounts, and all of the links are down below this video. If you'd like to buy something from my shop, including an Infamous Dance t-shirt, all those are still available at my Shopify, which is also linked below. Fun fact, I'm going to release something new this week, so if you'd like to be notified when it's released, you might want to sign up for my newsletter, which you can also do down below. Lastly, I love providing divinations for people. I've been working really closely with a lot of artists over the past couple years, helping them divine or get a sense for what's at work beneath the surface of their project. So if there are knots that you're trying to untangle in your work, artistic, personal, whatever it might be, feel free to reach out to me via email. I will send you more information about the work that I do and also about setting up a session. All of these are ways that you can support me and support Congress. So please consider donating to these projects or supporting otherwise. Also, if you're here in this stream, I would love it if you left a like so that people can see that it's live and to help this work gain traction over the next few weeks. Before we start to talk about provision, I want to help us attune to the space here tonight. If you've spoken to me recently, you might know that I have been deepening my investigation of traditional Chinese medicine. And this time of year is dedicated to the lungs and the lung system, which includes the lungs, obviously, but also the sinuses, the hair, and also our skin. Like the lungs do, they help us think about what we take in and also what we push out of us. On another level, the lung system helps us think about what belongs to us and what we can get rid of, things that don't belong to us. And lastly, on an even higher plane, the lung system reminds us to think about who we are, and what we do, and to distinguish those things from who we are not, and what we don't do, or what we might take on unnecessarily from other people. And we'll get to that in just a moment too. So as we move into this session, I invite you into a really brief attunement. Just go ahead and take your hands and rub them together. And as you do, be sure to take a breath for yourself and check in with your breath as we go. And once you feel some heat in your hands, go ahead and take both hands and place that heat wherever you might need it on your body right now. And if you're in a place where you can close your eyes, I invite you to. And just feel this warmth radiating into your body, through your skin. And as you feel this heat enter your body, you might also imagine something else exiting your body. Any stress or tension or anything else that you do not need at this point or hereafter. I invite you to take this feeling of entering and exiting with you as you breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Letting your hands rest and your eyes open if they were closed. Again, thank you all so much for being here with me this evening. I said this is going to be about an hour, but I think it's going to be a lot shorter than that. So I'm glad you're along for this ride. So let's get into provision. I have with me here a bag full of wonderful objects. What I love about this bag is, first of all, it does remind me of entering and exiting, right? Just in the fact that you can see what's inside without being able to access these things directly. But it also kind of reminds me of a lung in some ways, and also a stomach. Um, if you've kept up with my work over the past few years, you know that stomachs are something that come up for me often in my practice. That was especially true for this project I talked about last week called The Nutcracker from Memory. As I talked about the Nutcracker from Memory, I described the feeling of a theater coming up and out of me. And I think there's something really nice about a practice that asks, what does it mean to take something in, right? Like a lifetime of dance training. And then what does it mean to bring it back out and deliver it to the world in a new way? I think as a dancer, I spend a lot of time internalizing other people's instructions, other people's ideas, other people's visions, and then learning how to recreate those things for myself or through my own body. But when COVID lockdown came in 2020, I started asking myself, how am I taking my own experience, my own impressions of the world, and delivering those things? I feel like once I can get to that place with confidence, then I will feel like a real artist, whatever the fuck that's supposed to be. But I set down that line of questioning. I did the Nutcracker from Memory in 2020 and then again in 2021. I followed this practice of sort of rummaging around and taking internal inventory. And for about the next year and a half, I developed a series of practices and projects that helped me get a handle of what I was really interested in. So at the beginning of 2022, I decided I was going to apply to an artist residency for the very first time, and I was accepted to the Chautauqua Visual Arts Residency in Chautauqua, New York. And that's where I began and completed this project, Provision. What I love about the title Provision is that it reminds me of a lunch bag that's full of food. Yeah. I also think of the Bible story where Jesus takes 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread and somehow divides all of that food up for 5,000 people. There's a feeling of satiation or being satisfied, like you've taken in enough by first giving of yourself, perhaps. So when I think about this project, I think about what it means to have a project that makes me feel full somehow. But you can imagine things did not start that way. When I arrived at Chautauqua, I was one of 3 or 4 performance-oriented people. And out of this group of 40, most folks were painters, sculptors, photographers, video makers, draftspeople, collagists, etc. So I remember all the performance people getting together and being like, what are y'all going to do about rehearsal space? Like, we can't really use these masonite cubicles with the linoleum floor. They're like not giving as far as movement devising goes. So like, what are y'all going to do? I didn't really have an idea, But because I'd been working on my own work prior to that point and developing a new way of working, I had somehow convinced myself that I was going to kill it when I came into this residency. When I decided to leave the identity of dancer behind, I set in front of myself the goal of becoming an artist who would be taken seriously. Like I said, that meant finding a way to present my own visions in a way that made sense to me. It meant drawing together all of these disparate interests I have, including movement, writing, sound design, divination, facilitation, image making, all of those things. I imagined I would become an artist that could make things and sell them. I imagined myself as an artist with a career, which meant gallery representation and shows and monographs at some point in time. But as I actually moved into the residency setting, reality quickly set in. And what I realized was, as much as I had for myself, I had nothing as far as the external context was concerned. So I did what I knew how to do. I started observing, I started taking notes, I started journaling, I started reading, and I started collecting a whole host of objects. My goal was to develop some sort of assemblage. I figured with all the notes that I was posting on the walls in my studio, somehow these things would come together into a living environment that was the work itself. What I realize now, and even what I realized at that time, but especially as I've moved further and further into this thing called a career, I've realized that what I actually wanted to feel in this project was secure. I wanted to feel like the labor I was putting into this project was not being stolen from me as it is at any other place of employment. I wanted to feel like my work could actually keep me alive, that it could actually, literally, fill me, fill my stomach, and help me feel like I was securely attached to my environment. So as time went on, I tried things, they failed. I learned how to be really patient and still with my practice. I learned how to encounter moments of emptiness, moments that really felt like a gap or a hole in the things that I was doing. And through meditation, through journaling, through conversation with people, through learning about other folks' practices, and through getting help from other people, I learned how to deal with not knowing what I was actually doing. And I somehow managed to thread that into an experience that really fed me over the 2 months that I was at Chautauqua. And then there was the hole. There were many holes in my practice, including the ones I just mentioned, but there was one hole in particular that I love thinking about. Even to this day, just a few months ago, I was writing about this particular hole, which I will show you and also read to you because I think it's a really great example of what process is when I talk about process as flowing with our lived experience. I think this is a wonderful example of what I mean. So I'll share with you a little bit of writing right now. As I made my way through provision, I felt I was speaking from somewhere. I could see my coordinates. I could sketch a map of where I had been and where I could go. Though I wanted to make things and make it, creating contexts became the focus of my practice. Just to say, as time went on, provision became a gathering space where people could come and have conversations, get divinations from me, and also just see the artifacts that I had been collecting and assembling in the space. Then there was the whole. The first one I recognized as such. I first made a dent in my studio wall because I sought ways to make my practice less tidy more out of hand. By the time I finished the project, the hole spanned both the length and width of the wall, large enough for many people to pass through. The hole only became large, though, because it started small, which sounds obvious, and indeed, this is the puzzle of it all. It's possibly being too obvious. When I first invited some peers to see my first blow, they all made the same observation. This looks like a glory hole. It wasn't exactly a useful glory hole, they clarified, since it was too close to the ground. Yet it wasn't low enough to have been kicked into the wall, nor was it high enough to have been punched by a fist. I was spurred to work on the hole because, in many ways, it embarrassed me. Its ambiguity and possible prurience felt amplified by my apparent unawareness of both. I couldn't consciously account for its loaded meaning despite me. Insight came on very, very slowly, lumbering toward me like some huge beast, now opening its maw before me in a long, luxurious yawn. When I think about this beast, this is what the hole looked like at the very end of the project. When I think about the process of digging this hole, or rather drilling and hammering this hole, and when I think about a beast with its jaws open, I think of the strength card in tarot, and Shessa, I see you're here, so I know you'll love this. I think of the effort it takes to sustain a project, especially when you can't see immediately what's in front of you. So I think this whole made an unconscious process really conscious for me. And as I worked on this whole, people would come to the studio and talk to me, ask what I was doing, ask what the project is. And through that process, I think I learned in a really tangible way how to put my work out into the world. And I don't just mean making things for people to see. I also mean making myself and my experience available so that my work was more than just a thing to look at, but a gathering place where people could learn, could process, and literally move through the work with me.
I don't even know how to love you just the way you want me to. But I'm ready to learn. Yes, I'm ready to learn to fall in love, to fall in love, to fall in love with you.
What I love about provision is that it helped me practice opening to others. It also helped me realize how important my work is in learning how to open to myself. And of course, that is ongoing work. If you were here last week, you know that I'm sharing a series of questions throughout what even? Um, these four questions are the foundation of Congress. So I've shared them with the collaborators in that piece. I've been working through them for myself, and I've decided to share them with you all in this container as well. Last week, I asked the question, what is one issue or situation you cannot know your way out of? What is one issue or situation you cannot know your way out of? As I worked on provision, I encountered many obstacles that I simply had to engage with. I had to dare myself to rely less on what was familiar and more on what was right in front of me. Tonight, I'd like to offer the second question in this series, which is related to the first question. And as I share this question, I invite you to write it down, to meditate on it for yourself. We'll actually take a little bit of time to do that right after I share the question, which is, what yearning does this situation that you can't know your way out of set ablaze in you? So once you think of a situation you can't know your way out of, you might also ask yourself, what yearning does that situation set ablaze in you? We can take a long time with this question, but for now, we'll take 3 minutes, starting now. Go ahead and find a place to pause with this question. Once you do, just take a breath for yourself. I'm taking a breath for myself because the washing machine is running in the background and it is really fucking loud. But thankfully, we're getting to the end of this session of What Even. All the questions that I'll be sharing for the rest of this time are work questions, but also life questions. In fact, one thing you'll hear me say is that all of the work that I do as an artist grows directly out of my life. So I'm glad I could go live with you all to talk a little bit about what it is that I'm up to. I always love sharing what I'm doing with folks, but I also love being in the practice that is the process. So I hope you join me for the next session. Thank you so much for being here tonight. The next session is going to happen this coming Sunday at 11 a.m. I like playing with times to see what works best for people. So this coming Sunday, I believe I'll be talking about Trouble, which is a performance I did in 2023 with some amazing folks. So please join me on Sunday at 11 right here on YouTube. Again, if you would love to support Congress, and I would love it if you loved it, you can find links for donation, my shop, and also my email address for divinations down in the description below. Until then, I hope you take these questions with you, and I hope you find a way to be in process with yourself. Have a good night. Thanks for being here.